She set the papers down next to the half-eaten eggs and said it like she was telling me the weather. "Don't take it personal, Matt. It's just business. You were perfect for it." I blinked, still holding the mimosa I'd poured her 2 minutes earlier, still barefoot on the balcony of our honeymoon suite in Maui. I looked down at the manila envelope. Divorce papers. Signed. Dated. She tipped the glass back and smiled like this was some kind of cute prank. 10 grand, she said, tapping the glass to her ring. "That's what they bet I couldn't do it. Marry a guy like you in under a year. Guess I win. My name's Matt Dwyer. I was 43 when I got played harder than I ever thought possible." Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. I met Lauren at my job. She was sharp, confident. She asked about my dreams and actually listened. Said she believed in me, that I could do more than middle management. So I believed her. I left my job, 15 years as a project manager, and started prepping a logistics consultancy I thought she'd back me on. I told her my plan the night before the wedding. She hugged me and said she was proud of me. And now, here I was, 7 days later, watching her strut across a marble floor in designer heels, humming to herself as she grabbed her purse. "Oh, and you can keep the ring," she called over her shoulder. "Think of it as a souvenir." Then she walked out, didn't even shut the door behind her. I stood there for a second, holding that glass, breathing in the salt air like it might explain what the hell just happened. My brain kept trying to make it make sense. A bet? That was it? None of it was real? The nights talking on the couch? The plans we made? All just steps in some sick game? She never loved me. Never even liked me. I was a target, a project, a dare. But I didn't scream. Didn't chase her. I walked inside, picked up the papers, and packed my bag. Because while she was busy collecting her winnings, I was already thinking about mine. I landed back in Chicago the next day, tossed the ring in a drawer, and opened a blank spreadsheet. Didn't cry, didn't talk to anyone, just stared at that screen and thought back to how all this started. Parker and Shaw had brought me on 18 months earlier, mid-sized logistics firm trying to break into global freight. I was their first serious hire for international expansion, senior ops manager, top salary, full authority to overhaul our West Coast distribution model. That was my thing. Streamlining, reducing overhead, tightening margins. My last company saved over $8 million in 2 years off my changes. So yeah, I was good at my job. Real good. 3 weeks in, I was still learning the internal politics when Lauren showed up. Boss introduced her as his niece. Said she'd just finished her MBA at Northwestern, and she'd be consulting on strategy. No real role, no metrics, just floating. Next morning, she was in my office with a notebook and 2 coffees. "Mind if I shadow you for a while?" she asked. "I'm trying to learn how real logistics work in the field, not just in theory." She was sharp, I'll give her that. Knew how to ask the kind of questions that made you feel smart answering them. She picked up on lingo fast, took notes constantly, always had something nice to say about my presentations, my spreadsheets, even my stupid jokes in the Monday meetings. Said I had real leadership instincts, that I made complex systems easy to follow. At the time, I took it as respect, thought she looked up to me. Turns out she was profiling me, learning how I thought, what tools I used, how I talked to vendors, how I negotiated contracts. She even mirrored my work hours, started showing up at 7, left when I did. I thought she was dedicated. 6 months in, she asked me to dinner, just 2 coworkers. She made a joke about how I was the only person there who didn't treat her like some spoiled intern. That night turned into drinks. Then drinks turned into a weekend trip. Next thing I knew, we were a couple. People around the office ate it up. Said we were a power duo. My boss pulled me into his office and said, "Don't let it get weird, Matt. But honestly, you two together could run this company someday." He meant it. The next quarter, I was put in charge of our Pacific Division budget, plus team expansion in LA. Meanwhile, Lauren got handed her own strategic development portfolio, despite never running a project in her life. Half her team didn't even know what her role was, but no one questioned it because of her last name. She didn't brag, didn't need to. She played the sweet, curious up-and-comer, soaking up praise like it was nothing. She'd lean on me when things got technical, always quick to say, "Matt helped me think through that part," like I was her assistant, not the guy whose work she was repackaging. And I still didn't see it. That's what pisses me off the most. I thought we were building something together. She'd make dinner some nights, ask about my day, rub my shoulders while I vented about vendor delays or budget constraints. Said she wanted to learn it all, be part of it. She even asked to see my personal business models. Said she was fascinated by the freight optimization plans I'd been working on in my off hours. I handed it over like an idiot. "Show me everything," she'd say, half laughing. "I want to know how your brain works." That was the game. She was never there to learn. She was studying the whole time, waiting for the right moment to cash in on me. 9 months in, I proposed. We were standing outside a restaurant downtown. She looked surprised, emotional even, teared up a little, hugged me like I'd just saved her life. I felt like the luckiest guy in Chicago. 3 months after that, we were engaged, planning a wedding I didn't want and a future I thought was real. My boss shook my hand at the engagement party and said, "Matt, you're marrying up. She's got vision and you've got execution. That's rare. Don't screw it up." And I didn't. But she did. 3 weeks before the wedding, I told Lauren I thought we were going overboard. 75 grand, I said. "You really need the floral arch flown in from San Diego?" She didn't even look up from her laptop. "It's Lake Tahoe, Matt. People expect a certain look. It's not just a wedding, it's optics." Her parents called it a smart investment. Said the guest list alone was full of future opportunities. Clients, partners, investors. "Perception is everything in business," her dad told me, while signing off on the open bar bill like it was nothing. "You're marrying into the right network." I wanted to get married in a courthouse. Steak dinner after, maybe a night in a cabin somewhere. But I kept my mouth shut. Told myself it didn't matter, as long as she was happy. That was the line I kept feeding myself every time another charge hit my inbox. Custom programs, wine tastings, professional drone footage. The day itself looked like a magazine spread. Lake behind us, tuxedos all around, white chairs lined like chess pieces. She wore a backless silk gown and carried a bouquet that probably cost more than my first car. The whole thing felt more like a product launch than a wedding. During the reception, I caught her at a table with her girlfriends. They were all laughing, clinking glasses, whispering like teenagers at prom. I figured it was bridal talk. Now I know it was victory laps. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat up with a notebook in my lap and a pencil in my hand, sketching out the bones of an idea I'd shelved for years. No business loans, no partners, just me. Because if I was going to get played like a joke, I'd be the one writing the punchline next time. The morning I flew back from Maui, I didn't go home. I went straight to Des Moines, crashed on an old friend's couch for 2 nights, then moved into his basement. Cement floors, no windows, smelled like motor oil and old carpet. But I had Wi-Fi, a desk, and silence. I didn't answer texts, didn't check social, but word still found me. Lauren's friends, they weren't subtle. One of them posted a photo from the wedding with the caption, "10 grand well spent." Another tagged her in a meme about dumb husbands. Someone even DM'd me a video clip of them popping champagne in that Maui suite after she walked out. I watched it once, then opened a new spreadsheet. She'd humiliated me in public, yeah, but she also gave me something I didn't know I needed. A clean break from everything fake. No more office politics. No more pretending I was satisfied managing someone else's vision. I called up 2 guys I knew from my early days in freight, Ryan and Joe. Smart, gritty, didn't care about image. I told them what I was building, a freight analytics platform that actually made sense to people on the ground, predictive modeling for route efficiency, vendor scorecards that weren't just corporate fluff, real tools for real operators, no investors, no funding rounds, just our savings, beat-up laptops, and 18-hour days. "You serious about this, Matt?" Ryan asked after I pitched it. I said, "You ever seen me half-ass anything?" By week 3, we had a prototype. Week 6, I was back on the phone with vendors. Cold calls, follow-ups, demos in warehouse break rooms while forklifts beeped behind me. I lived off gas station food and instant ramen. My laptop ran so hot, I had to keep a fan under it. I didn't care, because every day I woke up with purpose again. Month 4, we got our first client. Regional shipping hub out of Kansas City, then a bigger warehouse group in St. Louis, then another in Phoenix. By month 6, we were steady. By month 10, profitable. Meanwhile, Parker and Shaw started bleeding. Word was Lauren had expensed over 30 grand of wedding-related charges under brand development, flowers, photographer flights, that Tahoe suite. It all hit the books like it belonged there, but someone in finance flagged it after she bragged about it at a happy hour. I heard she tried to spin it, said it was all part of client engagement strategy, didn't fly. More than one vendor pulled contracts. Couple internal teams jumped ship. Her golden girl shine wore off fast when people saw what she really was. Entitled, reckless, and sloppy with other people's money. Me, I kept building. I didn't post updates, didn't brag, just made my product better, faster, cleaner. While she scrambled to save face, I was out in loading docks running beta tests and tightening the code. Every ping on my phone was another warehouse saying, "Hey, we heard what you're doing. Can we get a demo?" That's when I knew the tide was turning. The expo badge around my neck said it all. Matt Dwyer, CEO, Driftroot Solutions. 12 months to the day since Lauren handed me divorce papers in Maui. Now I was walking into McCormick Place, wearing a tailored navy suit, clean shave, firm step, and more client leads in my back pocket than I could follow up on this month. Driftroot had just been announced as a finalist for Best Supply Chain Innovation. We weren't some upstart anymore. We were competition, and everyone knew it. I stepped into the main hall, lights buzzing, giant banners hanging over the rows of booths, and there they were, Parker and Shaw. Back wall, dead center, shoved next to a plastic-wrapped demo station and a booth pushing AI forklift software. Their setup looked tired. Flat colors, sad pamphlets, a bowl of stale mints. And right behind the table, Lauren. Hair pulled tight, blazer 2 years out of style, smile frozen in place like a showroom mannequin. She was leaning over the table, straightening flyers when she saw me. Her eyes locked on my badge, then on my face. She stood straight. "Matt," I didn't slow down, took 3 more steps and stopped right in front of her. Just long enough to let her get a good look. New suit, confident shoulders, me company name under the conference spotlight. "Just here collecting a few awards," I said. "Hope you didn't bet against that." Her lips parted like she wanted to say something, but nothing came out. Not even a fake laugh. Her eyes dropped to my badge again, then flicked back to my face. Like she was trying to recalculate everything she thought she knew about me. I didn't give her time. One of the big execs from Corvus Freight passed behind her booth, caught my eye, and walked up smiling. "Matt, I just saw the Driftroot presentation. Brilliant stuff. Who's your UI guy? That dashboard is sick." "Built it in-house," I said, shaking his hand. "Thanks for stopping by. I'll send over our beta pipeline next week." Lauren didn't move. She just stood there, one hand on the booth table, watching. 2 more suits came over, VP of a logistics tech fund, and some director from Eastbridge Shipping who used to ignore my emails when I worked under Lauren. Now they couldn't stop asking about pricing models and integration options. I gave short, sharp answers. Cool, unbothered. I saw her eyes shift with every handshake, every laugh that didn't include her. Some guy from her own team came up behind her and asked, "Hey Lauren, did we confirm our breakout session time?" She didn't respond, just kept staring at me. Finally, I turned back to her. "Good seeing you," I said. "Tell Parker and Shaw I appreciate the training. Helped me build something real." She opened her mouth, still no words. I walked away, didn't look back, didn't need to. I could feel the heat of her stare all the way across the convention hall. And when I got to the Drift Route booth, Ryan handed me a coffee and said, "You looked like you just crushed someone's soul." I took a sip. No, I just reminded her I had one. 3 months after the expo, I signed off on a contract that flipped the script. Drift Route bought out a Midwest logistics corridor that Parker and Shaw used to run. It's one of their top 5 regional clients. The ink dried on a Monday. By Wednesday, Lauren's department was reporting to mine. Did I parade around like a king? No, I didn't need to. The numbers did all the talking. I showed up to the quarterly performance review like I belonged there, which I did. Full room, Parker and Shaw leadership, the client, Drift Route heads, a couple board members. Lauren sat near the end of the conference table in a black blazer, fake smile frozen on her face. She had a legal pad in front of her, but hadn't written a damn thing. "Let's start with efficiency stats," I said, clicking into the dashboard. "Here's where Drift Route's operations were before the takeover. 91% route accuracy, under 3% loss rate. And here's Parker and Shaw's averages for the same lanes over the last year." I clicked again. Charts lit up the screen. The silence was beautiful. Lauren shifted in her seat. crossed her legs. Uncross them. Would you like to walk us through what led to that variance? I asked her directly. She blinked. Well, there were factors outside our control. Vendor delays, port slowdowns. Right, I said, cutting her off. But those ports weren't delayed for us. Same lanes, same third parties. She swallowed hard, looked down at her pad. Someone coughed. One of the board members leaned back in his chair and chuckled. Looks like you backed the wrong horse, he said, not even trying to whisper it. Nobody laughed, but everybody heard it. Lauren stared at the table. No excuses, no comebacks, just sat there with nothing to say, like the data had vacuumed the air out of her lungs. She didn't talk much the rest of the meeting. I wrapped it up smooth, walked out shaking hands, gave clear directives for the transition. Not once did I mention the past. Didn't need to. Everyone in that room could feel it, who had the power and who used to. 2 weeks later, I got an internal memo. Lauren had resigned. No goodbye email, no farewell lunch. I sent her a handwritten card the next morning. No sarcasm, no gloating. Just one line, clean across the middle of the paper. Appreciate the motivation. The card hit the mail, and I moved on. I wasn't chasing revenge anymore. I already had that. What I wanted now was something real. No games, no ego. Just something I could count on. That came with Melissa. I met her on a client call. She ran procurement for a Midwest warehouse network Driftroot had just onboarded. First time we talked, she called out a gap in our rate benchmarking before I could finish the pitch. I like your platform, she said, but I need to know your data integrity's not just smoke and mirrors. I smirked. Test it, tear it apart. She did. Spent 2 weeks running her own audits. Asked more questions than any vendor manager I'd ever worked with. But when she came back, she said, all right, it holds up. I trust it. And I trust you. That was the start. We kept things work-related at first. Quick calls, data checks, scheduling syncs. Then it turned into late-night Slack chats. Then dinners when I was in her city. Not romantic at first, just two people who didn't need to pretend. She didn't care about my title, didn't ask what I drove. She wanted facts, action, follow-through. I respected that. One night, we ended up at a hole-in-the-wall BBQ place outside Fort Wayne after a long site visit. She was in jeans, hair up, wiping brisket sauce off her fingers while talking about supply chain choke points like it was small talk. I swear if one more vendor tries to upsell me on AI-driven forklift routing, I'm gonna lose it. I laughed. At least you're not getting pitched by someone who used to be your wife. She tilted her head. That happened to you? Worse, I said. She used to run my life. Melissa didn't flinch, just nodded like she'd seen the same kind of chaos in other people's stories. Then she said something that stuck. You remind me of my dad. Built a plumbing company from scratch. Didn't ask anyone for favors. Just worked. I looked at her and knew. I'd found solid ground. A year after the expo, we bought a house together outside Indianapolis. Big yard, quiet street, unfinished basement. I turned into a home office. No wedding, no announcement, no guest list. Just a key in each of our hands and no questions asked. She helped me run the numbers when we prepped our expansion into Canada, built our supply maps together, tracked vendor shifts, translated rate volatility into something real. She was sharp where I was blunt, exact where I was fast. She didn't want champagne or fancy vacations. She wanted to build something that lasted, and so did I. We'd just wrapped our second Canada contract when the summit invite came through. Logistics resilience, post-crisis adaptability and freight networks. Atlanta, big names, bigger audience. I was the keynote on the second day. Panel topic, integrity and leadership. I almost said no, but Melissa nudged me. You built something that survived what most men fold under, she said. Tell the damn story. So I flew out alone, checked into the hotel, reviewed my notes, kept it sharp. Less charts, more real talk. What to do when you lose everything and have to rebuild without shortcuts. No bitterness, just facts. The morning of the panel, I stood backstage behind the curtain, sipping bad coffee from a paper cup. Crowd was packed. Logistics heads, startup founders, even a few college students in the back rows. Then I saw her, far left side, third row, shoulders hunched, arms crossed, dressed like she didn't belong in the room. No makeup, hair flat, eyes darting. She looked smaller, Not just thinner, like the confidence had been peeled off her, like all that shine she once wore had rusted over. Lauren. Someone next to me said she was freelancing now. Consulting, technically. Word was she barely had steady clients. Burned too many bridges trying to act like a power player. Too much spin, not enough delivery. I didn't acknowledge her. I stepped up to the mic, scanned the room once, and went into it. I told the story. Not hers, mine. How I rebuilt from scratch. What it meant to lose not just money, but pride. How I learned the difference between partnerships and parasites. I talked about data integrity, but also personal integrity. About second chances and why they matter more than first impressions. I didn't use her name. Didn't need to. But I saw her shift in her seat halfway through. Saw her arms fall from her chest. Saw her eyes start to follow. Like maybe for the first time, she was actually listening instead of planning her next angle. Afterward, people lined up to shake my hand, ask for contact info, invite me to follow-ups. She stayed seated, then left without a word. And that was enough. Later that night, I landed back in Indianapolis, walked through the terminal, and spotted Melissa waiting in passenger pickup. Window down, one hand on the steering wheel, the other holding out my coffee. She didn't say anything when I got in, just smiled, put her hand on my knee, and started driving. Windows down, no music, just the sound of tires on pavement and her fingers resting steady on my leg. That was the win. 5 years later, my office was on the top floor of a 2-story brick building just outside Indy. Nothing flashy, no gold plaques or corner views, just clean desks, clear numbers, and people who showed up because they believed in what we were building. Drift Route had a team of 60, clients across 4 countries, expansion round kicking off next quarter. I'd built it brick by brick, without shortcuts, without noise. People ask me sometimes what happened with Lauren. I'd just shrug. She helped me find my purpose. Last I heard, she was working PR for some staffing firm that hadn't posted profit growth in 2 years. One of my old vendor contacts said she'd pitched a branding overhaul like it was a TED Talk, then ghosted the team when the client pulled funding. I didn't follow her, didn't dig. I had no interest in reruns. She lost that 10 grand bet the moment I stopped letting it define me. I never posted receipts, never told my side in a thread, didn't rant online or burn her name into some revenge blog. I just worked, quiet, focused, kept showing up every day and tightening every bolt in my system. That's what she never understood. Men like me don't get loud. We get even by getting better. This morning, Melissa walked into my office holding 2 mugs and a spreadsheet. No makeup, hair tied back, wearing one of my old hoodies. "You're up early," she said, setting my coffee next to the monitor. "Canada numbers dropped. Good news." She leaned on the edge of the desk and scanned the screen. "You ever think about what would have happened if she hadn't walked out on you?" I laughed. "Yeah, I'd still be stuck in a fake life with a woman who saw me as a pawn." "Guess we both got lucky," she said, smirking. I kissed her cheek, stood up, and rolled out my chair. Then I sat back down, pulled the charts closer, and got back to work.